Tree Talkin' Time is brought to you by Conkeys Outdoors. Get all your hound hunting needs at conkeys.com. Welcome to Tree Talkin' Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest fights to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game.
Welcome back to another episode of Tree Talkin' Time. It is 2024. I hope everyone had a great Christmas and New Year holiday. I'm looking forward to this year. I have a lot of stuff planned, so looking forward to bringing you a lot of great podcasts this year. At this special episode, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of take a look forward and we're going to take a look back. This past week, I was able to take my son hunting with the legend Uncle Wayne. So it was the first time he ever got to even meet Wayne, because just the distance between us, he's never been down there. So we got to go down and hunt with Wayne for a day. Unfortunately, just some circumstances between a dog getting injured and me feeling a little under the weather, we were only able to hunt the one day, but it is what it is. We had a great day. So we're going to listen to Charlie's take on his bear hunt, and he's a little shy, so I had, try to prod a lot of the answers out of him, but he had a lot of fun, and I know he wants to go again. So, and then what we're going to do is we're going to transition into the first episode of Tree Talkin' Time. So 2 years ago this week was the first episode, and it was called 64 Years of Bear Hunter. That still is my number one downloaded episode to date. Wayne is a local legend and came out the gate strong with a lot of support and listening to that episode. So I think and I've been told numerous times that it's a lot of people's favorites, so a lot of people go back and listen to it. So we're going to listen to that as well. I look forward to next week when we can bring you some new exciting content. Like I said, a little under the weather, so that's why this week's a little mix of new and old. So hope everyone enjoys it, and I look forward to more this year. Thank you.
Hello.
So where did we go, Charlie?
To Virginia.
Who did we hunt with?
Mr. Wayne.
Mr. Wayne, which Mr. Wayne, to you listeners, are better known as Uncle Wayne, is 76 years old and still bear hunting just as hard as he has for many years. What was the first thing that you remember about going bear hunting? Like, what's the first thing that stands out?
The rules?
The rules? What do you mean by the rules?
The hunting rules?
What about them?
You can only hunt an animal when you can.
Are you talking about like when we were going down there and we were talking and I was explaining about how there's laws? Is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So back to the bear hunt. We get down to Mr. Wayne's. We get up really early in the morning. We load all the dogs up. And then we go to the woods. Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now what happened after that?
They shot a bear.
Well, eventually, but...
One of the dogs got hurt?
Eventually. So actually a fellow podcast guest, Andrew Ware, who was just on at the beginning of December, he took a couple of dogs and he walked into the woods, and within a matter of a couple minutes, they jumped a bear and ran it like 400 yards. And then what happened? Where was it at?
In a hole.
It's in a hole, which we didn't know that it was in a hole, did we?
Mm-mm.
So we got in there, and when we were walking in, what happened?
The dogs got hurt?
Yep, we heard a dog get hurt. And then Andrew, he started shooting at it, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And then what?
It died?
Yeah, it ran, and you got to see it, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody else went and finished it off. Do you remember how big of a bear it was?
483.
Yep. So we had two dogs that got hurt, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
One of Andrew's and one of Mr. Wayne's. Luckily, they both made it. They're both doing better now. But yeah, it was a little scary there for a little bit, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the worst part? Yeah. You were pretty nervous about Scout, huh? When we were eating lunch and waiting at the vet's office, what did Mr. Wayne ask you while you were sitting up on top of the dog box?
I don't remember.
He asked if you wanted something.
A puppy.
He asked if you want a bear dog puppy, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Then what happened?
And then we got one.
We got one?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Peaches.
What's special about Peaches? You don't know? Who was her grandma?
Puddles.
Yep, Puddles. It was our dog, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Conkeys Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talkin' Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkeys motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkeys carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkinTime5 in all caps to save as well.
I'm 74 years old, and I've been bear hunting since I was 10 years old. 64 years.
What year was that?
1957.
And then your dad was a bear hunter, though.
All his life.
What year was your dad born?
1902.
And during that time, a lot of those years, there was not a lot of bear around here.
No, hard to find bear.
So, what was it like back then? That you remember, or what your dad told you?
Most of it I remember because I was walking in the woods with Dad, and then when I was 10 years old, if I could keep up. But people today don't realize what it was like then.
Mm-hmm.
You had no tracking systems,
Yep.
no radios.
Mm-hmm.
Most people had no four-wheel drive vehicles. Most of them drove an old cattle truck or a car that they hauled the dogs in.
Yep.
My daddy used an old cattle truck.
So like me, riding around my Subaru.
Yeah, riding in your Subaru. No, and when you go out and you walk until you find a bear, if the dogs take off, you follow them.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have any way of tracking them.
Mm-hmm.
You lose a dog, you wait till somebody calls you to come get your dog. I've seen it weeks. I've seen it more than weeks. I even seen one that Daddy lost for 2 years.
Wow.
If you want me to, I'll tell you the story on that.
Yeah.
The dog got lost, and we figured the bear killed it. Because back in, God knows how many dogs may have went in a bear den, and got killed that you didn't know what happened to the dog.
Oh, yeah.
But Jim Goff, a gentleman who's dead and gone now, was younger than my dad at the time, but he hauled timber.
Mm-hmm.
And he's cutting wood up on our old home place. And he rode up there. This dog had been gone for 2 years, and he rode up there one day, and he said, Charlie, which was my dad's name, he said, you remember that dog you lost a couple of years ago during hunting season? We never did find. Daddy said, yeah. He said, I think I saw that dog today. Daddy said, where at?
Your dad probably thought he was crazy.
Yeah, he did. Daddy thought, no way. He said, okay. He said, if you want to, I'll take you over there. So I got in with him and rode over, and we rode over in Arnold's Valley, outside the mountain, outside the Blue Ridge Parkway, over in Botetourt County. And there was an old mobile home there. And the dog come running around the house, mobile home, still had Daddy's collar nameplate on it. Never had taken it off. Nobody changed it.
Just claim his dog.
Daddy went up and knocked on the door, and it was an old lady come to the door. I think at the time she said she was about 88 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And Daddy said, ma'am, where did this dog come from? Well, he just come here some time ago and said, Daddy said, well, that's my dog. And she said, well, I'm sorry. Said, I don't have a telephone, and I just never got around to writing you. Address and everything on the collar.
That's crazy.
Said, we got the dog back after 2 years. But the dog had been gone 2 years.
Yeah. That's insane.
It really is. And but back then, very few people had phones. The old home place where we lived had a government phone, one of these crank-type phones that you probably seen replicas of.
Yeah.
I got one up here on the wall right now that it's not the one we had in the home place.
Yeah.
But the government put those things in the home specifically for fire prevention.
Okay.
That's why they would put all these people that live back on the mountains, way back, they put them in there so they could call if you had a fire, if you spotted a forest fire.
Wow.
So that was the only way before it got out of hand, and they could come and try to put it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then people started using them to call each other. Everybody had them.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It is.
I mean, I've seen the pictures of the phone. I honestly never knew that the government
Government was the original ones that
Gave
installed
them out for forest fires.
Forest fires was basically what they were used for, because my daddy's brother, Jess Hensley, was a forest warden.
Okay.
And I think I could still take you now. Where were we at? The forest wardens, they appointed forest wardens in different sections of the counties, and they were the ones that really supposed to look out. They actually had appointed fire wardens.
Okay.
And I think I could take you probably over at Botetourt right now in that county. I think it's one of those that says National Forest Warden.
Okay.
It was one over there at Hensley's house.
Mhm.
It may not be there now. I haven't paid attention to it for quite a while, and it may not be there anymore.
Mhm.
But they served as forest warden. It was their duty
Interesting.
to report. And they used those phones to report.
So, since we already got started, let me introduce you. This is who I jokingly refer to as Uncle Wayne. We'll get into that later. But Wayne Hensley from Bedford, Virginia. Been a bear hunter, like he said, for 64 years. Got some dogs out here that can sometimes run a bear.
Sometimes.
We
if
ran,
we like it.
we ran one today, so it's all right.
Should have been able to kill that bear today, but unfortunately it was right in front of a person's house.
Yep, unfortunately. But so, like you said, your dad was a bear hunter all his life. What kind of dogs did he run?
You name it, he had it. It was a mixture of everything.
Okay.
And he had a couple leopard curs at the end before he quit hunting because, see, Dad was born in 1902, so the leopard curs came around in the 1960s.
Mhm.
So Daddy would have been 60-some years old, so he did right there at the end have some leopard curs.
Okay.
As did my brother Carson, Lewis Carson. I called him Carson. He died back here last year, a little over a year ago. He owned one of the first 3 leopards that Richard McDuffie ever registered.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about leopards either later in this podcast or if we might do another podcast on it. But so you said pretty much anything. Do you remember, especially early, were a lot of them foxhounds?
Not necessarily foxhound. Maybe some foxhound, some blood in them, but no, mostly just plain outright hounds. He had some look like Plots, some look like high tan walkers, some look like red bones, black and tans. He's had some of all.
Okay.
I mean, every color. Well, I showed you the picture taken when I was 10 years old.
Most of them dogs are tricolor.
Tricolor.
I think there was a 1 or 2 brindle dogs.
And it's some blue. I think it may be a blue tick dog or 2 in there.
Okay.
He and Landon Overstreet and my brother Carson and Henry Wilkes had most of the dogs, and Pete Wow, my brother-in-law, who passed away.
Told me some impressive stories about Pete.
Pete, one of the hardest bear hunters outside of my daddy I've ever seen. When I was a teenager, you don't follow him in the woods. If you're going through ivy bushes, you better get over to the next row of ivy bushes, or you get killed when they come back and hit you in the face. Because I tell you what he taught me, and Daddy did also. When them dogs are running and they're going over the mountains and going up and down through those hollows, he said, stay high on the mountain, stay above them. You can walk right with them as long as you stay high on the mountain. You can move as fast as those dogs can if you're in good shape.
Yeah.
Most people nowadays couldn't keep up with one if he was on crutches, but
I could.
Yeah, you probably could. I've seen you walk, but yeah, you could. But there's so many of them that I hunt with today, and I'm 74 years old. It's 40 years old, and they can't even keep up with me.
Oh, I know. I told somebody yesterday that you could outwalk me.
No, I can't. I can't outwalk you, but there's a lot of them I can because they don't get any exercise. They huff and puff, and can't do it.
This fat flatlander.
Yeah.
I'm waving my hand because that's me. Well, like you said, there's no tracking collars or anything. Did you guys leave blankets or anything out?
Oh, yes, coats.
Coats.
Take a coat off and leave it where you turned loose, and a lot of times you'd find him laying right back there the next morning because a lot of those dogs had good homing instincts.
Yeah.
They knew how to get back. Some of mine are right now.
Yeah.
Some dogs are just like humans. There's some real bright ones, and there's some that's not too bright.
Now, you say that. I understand that, but do you feel homing instinct has somewhat been bred out of dogs?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because all of this stuff, they don't need it. They don't need it. You went with me hunting today. You saw 2 young dogs that got kicked out of that race. What did they do?
They fell out.
They fell out, but what did they do? They come right back. But you don't need it I mean, you're sitting there with a GPS and you think, okay, here comes Patches and here comes Ruger, and they're coming right back. They didn't. They finally dropped off the mountain when Riley Wilson started calling them. I think that's what made them drop off the mountain down to where we picked them up. But they would have came back, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Or came on through on the bow track to where we got the dogs.
Well, and Ivory, she came all the way back.
She came all the way back. So, that's, I think it's bred out of them. I think it's a lot of other things been bred out of them, too.
Like what?
Like nose. Everybody wants a quick tree dogs because they mostly coon on them. They want something. They want to listen to a high-powered tree dog that'll give you 100 to 110 barks a minute. Nothing wrong with that. It sounds great. You don't want that in a bow dog. You want something to give you enough mouth to find him treed.
Yeah.
And know where he's at and hear him. But I don't want it because all he's doing is wearing himself out while that bow's resting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't look for. I like a good tree dog, and after tree. But no, if I don't expect him to bark 110, 20 times a minute.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessary. Other people may have different opinions, but I don't think it's necessary.
No, I understand what you mean. But you said you think they bred a lot of nose out. You've had the same line of dogs for 30 years, so it's not necessarily what you're seeing because what you breed, like I said, you've had it for a long time. But you hunt with a lot of other guys, so are you saying you see that kind of in some of the other stuff you hunt with?
I won't call his name, but the young boy that was with the day turned the dogs loose on the bow, they have no nose.
Okay.
I mean, that's not how that we lost the bow. Finally lost it. They're cutting that timber up in there and skidders running up and down the roads and everything else, and God knows where that bow ended up. But he'll admit to you that they're not cold-nosed dogs. They're plot dogs, but they're not cold-nosed, and there's not knocking the plot. There's a lot of good ones out there and a lot of powerful noses on them. But his is not one of them.
Well, and I've even, one of these podcasts, I talked to a guy from North Carolina, and he said he doesn't want a cold-nosed dog. He's got so many bear. He goes, I don't want to mess with an old cold track.
No, you're right.
So, I mean, it kind of also depends on where you're at.
I give you, for instance, those dogs of Daddy's, and my brother Carson and Pete Wow, all of them. I've seen them hit a cold track in the morning. There wasn't no deer in Bedford County then. None. You never saw a deer. I was driving a vehicle before I ever saw a deer, and it was a big 12-point buck, and I went around and told everybody what I saw, because it was across the river in Amherst County, but none in Bedford County. If you wanted a deer hunt, you had to go over there.
Okay. I've heard that from a lot of people. I mean, just
bobcats is about, and coons is the only thing that you off game, and as long as they went up a tree. Your furs back there then for the coon was worth $20, $25. I've sold some when I was young for $30 each.
Yeah.
Off of a big coon if it wasn't shot up. So we didn't care if it treated a coon. Heck, that's money.
So even off game wasn't really an issue.
No, and there wasn't any deer to run, so you pretty much knew what they were running. One of those three things, they treat quite a few bobcat that we killed, and God help it, bow. They saw a tough time too. It wasn't many of them, but my daddy always taught me, you go to it, and I don't so much now because you saw me rode those dogs today in front of the truck and strike that track. You were with me, but back when we used to go in the mountains, we went to the roughest part of the mountain. It wasn't a picnic walk.
Oh yeah,
it was over places that when you're young, it's tough. It's tough to get over.
I walked through some thick laurel yesterday
before
I got down here.
Tim Campbell last week when this past Monday, the first day when we had that bear bayed up in there, Ivory and Queenie was the two dogs. He told me, he said, Wayne, there is no way in the world I'd come in here in the springtime. He said, not when the snakes are crawling. He said, I was on my hands and knees about all the way through there.
Yeah.
He said, nope. He said, no way. He said, if we get a dog in here in the springtime when we're running, he said, it's going to stay there until it comes out. I'm not coming in here to get it. That's exactly what he said. I knew what it was like. I've been in all these places. I know.
Well, you've been a bear hunter for so long.
But
you've been everywhere.
But he volunteered to go, and boy, I didn't stop him.
I don't blame you.
He's a lot younger than, about 20 years younger than I am. But no, I thanked him. I'm thankful for Tim. He helps me a lot. He really does.
So when you were bear hunting back then, you would just go to the roughest place you could to try and find a bear.
Yep. And I've seen Daddy, but not so much as he got older. But Pete Wow, my brother-in-law, I've seen dogs jump a bough, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if that bough stopped to rest or stopped to fight a dog, Pete Wow'd be shooting at him.
Jeez.
I mean, that's how quick he was through the woods, like a deer through the woods. And that's why I said you do not get behind him.
Yeah.
Because you'll get your head tore off with a limb or something that he lets go. Hunted with an old single-barrel shotgun, 16 gauge.
Not something you see too many of these days.
Pete hunted 20-some years after he married my sister, and he killed 18 bear himself. That ought to tell you how good he was in the woods. And God knows how many people kill bear with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I can name you dozens of people he killed bear with him, and most of them at first bear they ever killed.
Mm-hmm.
My first bear was with him and Daddy.
Really?
Yep. So,
How old were you?
Huh?
How old were you?
I was 16, if I remember correctly. No, I was 18, excuse me, because I was working at Rubbertex Corporation in Bedford, and I got off 11 to 7 because you go in on Sunday night and finish up on Friday morning.
Okay.
And they run that bear across there and treat it, and I had a .303 British Enfield rifle that I'd won on a punch board for $1. First day of bear season, first bear I ever killed, first time I ever took a gun with me. I'd won it out there on a punch board where they spun it and stabbed it with a knife.
Yeah.
And they took chances on it. I paid $1 chance, which I went up there and they had that bear treed. And it was sort of funny. It was a whole bunch of dogs there under the tree. Mm-hmm. And it was in a real rough place. I mean, rocks. And it was this one tree sitting right in the middle of it. And I could see that bear, and I'm trying to ease up and get up there. Back then, you didn't tie dogs back.
Okay.
Because you shot so many coons and stuff out of them. You never heard of a dog getting hit by a bear falling.
Yeah.
But I'm easing on up, and all of a sudden he spotted me. Mm-hmm. And I pulled that .303 rifle up, and I pulled down on him, and I shot him behind the front shoulder.
Okay.
And he dropped. And he went down in them rocks, and I could hear him fighting the dogs. And I started up in there, and it was one little path. And I said, Wayne, this ain't the right route, because if he starts out of there.
Oh, yeah, he's coming for you.
Yeah, he's going to come at me. So I backed out and went around above and on. I come down. Wayne Toms worked at Rubbertex with me, and he went with me hunting that morning. He hunted with us. Wayne's still living now. He's actually a little older than I am. You're too older than I am. And he had a big red tick dog there, English red tick dog, that bear had that dog back of its neck in its mouth. Going to kill that dog. And the dog's scrambling, and the other dogs are trying to fight. It was down between two rocks.
Yeah.
I ain't never killed a bear, but I knew what to do. I went up there and stuck that gun right at that bear's ear while he had that dog in his mouth where that bullet went in him. Mm-hmm. I pulled the trigger, and his eyes looked like a slot machine when they rolled back in his head. It killed him stone dead. I shot him right down through by his head, brain, and he just laid back, and that dog went right back to pulling on him. Just turned him.
Luckily, didn't kill him.
He would have killed him if I hadn't got there when I did. But yeah. I wasn't that far. I wasn't probably 25, 30 yards from that tree because I was easing through them rocks. Mm-hmm. And every time I'd catch him looking the other way, I would ease up on him. But people today, they don't hunt like I hunted. Mm-hmm. I shot God knows how many coons out to dogs. Daddy, we lived up there on that mountain and it joined the National Forest. Daddy owned 351 acres of land up there. Okay. And the dogs ran out all the time. Mm-hmm. And he fed them meat. That's all they were ever fed. It's a Bedford locker. They called it a locker plant, but it was a meat processing plant out here at Bedford. Every Tuesday, Daddy'd go to the livestock market to take cattle or buy calves or whatever, and he'd go by there, and that man would have scraps. Yeah. They fed them every night, and you feed them real good that night. Most time next morning, they'd be treed somewhere. Just about every morning. They'd have a coon, bobcat. Daddy went up there one morning. Mama died. Daddy was 93 when she died. Mama was 64. Okay. I'm the youngest of us, and I done already outlived her 10 years. She had sugar diabetes and stuff. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what to do for it. She died in 1970, 51 years ago. Jeez. I was 10 days shy of my 23rd birthday when she died. She died August 17, 1970, and I was August 27 was my birthday. But Daddy went up there one morning, and I had to go to school. So he went to the dogs. And he told me, he said, Mama told me, said, that evening, I said, what did dogs have to eat? She said, Daddy come back through the door. And my mother's name was Minerva. He said, Minerva, said, I done something I ain't never done in my life. She said, what'd you do? He said, I left 4 damn bear up one tree. They had a mother bear and 3 cubs treated.
Yeah.
He took Mom up there and she looked at them.
That's cool.
And she walked up. It wasn't that far above the house because I heard them treat that morning when I went walking out of there.
Yeah.
Because I walked down to the school bus. It was a mile each way. Down in the morning, back in the evening uphill, but I walked a mile for 12 years.
Oh, it wasn't uphill both ways?
No, what? It's not like somebody threw 12 inches of snow. No, trust me. I did walk a lot because they didn't close schools in. But no, she said that the mother bear, right after she got there, she saw it. But he jumped out and left the cubs. Yeah. Everything went after her. Daddy said, I'm going to walk around here a little ways and see if they tree her again, what they didn't. She said she sat there. She said she wished she'd have had the camera because she said she watched them bear the whole time Daddy was gone and said they'd yawn and go to sleep. And I think he's gone 2 or 3 hours before we come back. She sat down to the tree and watched the bear the whole time he was gone.
Well, like you said, especially for bear not being common, I bet that was really...
That was unique back then. You didn't see that's probably the first 3 cubs on a mother bear that I've ever seen. That or ever heard of around. I didn't see them, but ever heard of, and probably was Daddy's too.
Yeah,
to have 3 cubs.
We're back after eating dinner. So you're talking about your mom seeing that in a sow and those 3 cubs. How much of a sight that was at that point in time? So, roughly, how many bears did you guys get to see? Annually.
Well, you see a lot of them, well, not a lot of them, but most of them you seen was killed by a group or somebody else, but not many that they treed at nighttime like they did. They tree a lot of bear for that time. If you could nowadays have dogs running loose like they did then, it's no telling how many bear you'd see treed in a year's time with the dogs. Because being up there, if I lived up there, and let my dogs run loose, which probably wouldn't be a good idea with the cats and stuff it's in around at other houses, but still, you'd see a lot of bear treed compared to then.
So did you guys? You said you had your dogs loose. Did you go otherwise? Like, did you travel to hunt at all, or did you just hunt there from the house a lot?
My dad, we just hunted there. What I would do, we had a farm. I'd get up in the mornings when I was out of school, Saturday morning, when I'm out for Christmas break, whenever, because they had no early seasons back there then. It was all December, like it is now. Legally, you could kill mother bear and cubs. Okay. And that's why a lot of people killed bear, because they took all of them, which they don't today, and I'm glad they don't. Yeah. I don't believe in it. But, you could, there was a lot of bear killed, but a lot of them was mother bear and cubs. Okay. The last bear that my daddy killed, I can't remember the year, but he killed it with that old shotgun that I have now. It's a Remington Model 12 gauge pump shotgun. He used nothing but #1 buckshot. Okay. And he killed. He said he lost exactly count, but he thought he killed in the mid-40s. He killed 40-some bear. He used to go, and you ask if he traveled down to the Dismal Swamps. Okay. Yeah. Down there and hunted bear. They really didn't have a lot of limit or nothing on bear back there then. You just kill bear. Yeah. Daddy killed 5 bear down there 1 week himself. Wow. He shot 5 1 week. I remember that.
Especially for, like you said, not having a lot of bear. To kill 40 bears over the course of his life. It wouldn't be anything for you to have 40 bear kills as long as you've hunted, especially nowadays.
Oh gosh!
And that's even
if I had a shot every bear we had treed, and every bear bayed up, it would be hundreds of bear. Oh yeah, it wouldn't be 40. It would be hundreds. And you know yourself, I don't shoot bear. I take some person that's never killed a bear or some kid
Yep.
They are the future of hunting. You the future of hunting because you're not an old person, but I'm not the future of hunting. The future of hunting is long. I'm long past that.
But still, like I said, you could have killed a lot more. And you've killed, what, 6?
6 bears.
6
all I've
bears
ever killed, yeah.
over the course of 60-some years. So.
And in one of those, I really didn't want to kill. I think I told you. Did I tell you about the gun deal?
Yes.
The boy was shooting the bear and couldn't hit him, standing there and done tore up one of my dogs, so I shot the bear. He shot at him 3 times, standing still, broad open, out on a hickory tree limb, and couldn't hit him. The first time he shot, I don't know where the bullet went. The bear was looking around like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Second time, he hit the limb at his feet, and he started moving. And the third time, he shot above him. I seen it go in. I said, enough of this.
Yeah.
This boy ain't never killed a bear, and he ain't going to be able to kill one.
Well, and like you said, that bear had already tore up a dog, and you're
I already tore up one, and he's going to tear up more, especially if he wounds that bear.
Yeah.
I didn't want him wounded.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
And you got to shoot him. Put the bullet in his head and be done with it. Put a bullet right under his left eye and told him, "There's your bear."
There you go.
But
no, you've told me even some of the other bear, like it wasn't like you went in saying, "Oh, I'm going to kill a bear today." It was just a bait up bear that was getting dogs or whatever.
oh yeah,
It's not even like you try to fill a tag.
I killed one in North Carolina that was bait up, and it wasn't a great big bear, but it was a mean bear, and it was fighting dogs, and I could see it, but the dogs was in front of it. It was thick. I walked around, put the gun right behind his ear, and shot him.
Yeah.
Shot him in the head while he was standing. He didn't even know I was there.
Yeah.
The dogs was fighting him so badly that they was moving in and out on him. He was concentrating on them. Once he settled down, I just stuck a gun up and pulled the trigger. But I'm not afraid of a bear. I've never been afraid of a bear. I've been chased by them, almost getting caught several times.
Yeah.
And I had one a couple of years ago I told you about. It chased me. It was after dark, and I was trying to get the dogs off of him, and he chased 4 of us.
Yeah.
Chased Riley Wilson and I, and then turned, and I was trying to get one of my dogs off of him, and he chased me, and then he turned and chased the other 2 fellas down the road.
Yep.
Chased me and Riley up the road, and the other 2 fellas down the road.
You know, there is a thing called healthy fear.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you don't have any of that.
No, because I told you the story of the one that we treated was in the forks of the tree, and he was hanging up. I'm guessing we killed the bear later. This was during the chase season, and we treated him.
Yeah. And
it was getting late in the evening, but we killed it. A little 11-year-old girl killed it. We treated. That bear was easy to treat for a big bear. He weighed 465 pounds, and a little 11-year-old girl killed him.
That's a big bear.
Killed him. Yeah, it was a big bear, and he was hanging. He was up on this tree, and you'd step up in the forks, and there was 2 big forks, and he was hanging on one fork, leaning back against the other fork, just about the height of my hand, and I'm about 5'9", 5'10", and I could stand in the fork and reach up there. And we got the dogs tied back. I got up in the fork and rubbed him on the butt while he was sitting there. He'd look at me. I'm not going to tell you what it was. A fella there had never been bear hunting before. I'm not going to tell you what he said. You all are, you know what, crazy.
Yep.
His exact words he said.
He ain't wrong. I've hunted with you enough and talked to you enough to know that it's true.
But I don't know. I've just had a lot of fun bear hunting. I tell people I should have sense enough to quit. But it's bred into me, and I don't have sense enough to quit.
Yeah.
I'm just one of them older people hanging on to what you've enjoyed all your life.
Oh, yeah.
And I laugh and tell people, I'm going to die in the woods. That's where I'm going to die. I don't intend on dying here at the house. I may die here at the house. It's not my intentions.
Yeah.
I'll fall dead up there one day. As Vincent Mitchell told me, we were up there one night trying to get some dogs and out of the woods, and was looking at the lights out over the city of Bedford, and I said, look at that scenery and those lights, Vincent. I said, if I die, I hope I die right here, and you have to carry me out. And he said, I'm not carrying you anywhere. He said, I'm going to grab you by your feet and drag you. And I said, no, that ain't a good idea. I said, because they'll probably run an autopsy on me, and they'll determine that I was still living until you hit my head against that rock right there. And I said, I'll be just as dead as I ever was, and you probably be in the federal penitentiary for killing me. But he said, I'm not going to carry you. I'm going to drag you out of here.
I think you need to upgrade your Alpha to an Alpha 200i. That way, when you're out there having a heart attack, you can at least hit the SOS and so they know where to come get your body.
Shoot, anymore, if I go in the woods, and I have several times during chase season this year, I put a tracking collar with a beeper too connected to it on my belt.
Okay.
So they can find me.
Yeah.
I call Tim Campbell or whoever hunting with me at the time, and they may be working. I say, Tim, I'm going in, and you'll find my truck if I don't come out at such place.
Yeah.
And I got, say, Little Jazz's collar on my belt. All he's got to do is get the GPS or the beep, either one, walk right to me.
Mm-hmm. That's smart.
It is. At my age, it's smart for anybody. You could fall and break your leg. If you got an additional collar, it's smart.
Well, that's why I just said the new Alphas, they have an SOS button on.
Yeah, I know they do.
So that's why I'm saying you need to upgrade.
But no, I don't. Not at my age. I'll probably never own a new Alpha, the 200. But still, that's the way to do it. Just put the collar on your belt. Mm-hmm. You go down, it's still a signal there.
Yeah.
Still a GPS signal for probably 24 to 30 hours. Depending on how long you already had it cut on. And then there's a beeper collar that if it's good batteries in it lasts for days.
Yep.
That you can find me. So that's what I do. I've done it several times this year. And I think it's the correct thing that anybody should do if they in there by themselves.
No, it makes sense. Like I said, if you're going to be by yourself, so.
Yeah, it does.
Now, how long did your dad hunt?
Well, he started when he was very, very young, and he quit. Mama died in 1970, so Daddy would have been so he would have been 68. He hunted till he was about 70.
Okay.
He quit before as old as I am now.
He had a little more sense than you?
Apparently so. Apparently so.
Now, did Pete hunt till he was older as well?
Yeah, he did. Pete had some very good dogs, and Pete was like my daddy. They rode a horse till he couldn't ride any further. In other words, if they had a good dog, they run him until they realize, oh my God, I ain't trained nothing else.
Yeah.
Now how am I gonna kill a bear? And they done. My daddy was guilty of it. Pete Wow was guilty of it.
There's a lot of people guilty
but
of it.
I'm not guilty of it, because that's why you'll walk out to my kennels and see 9-month-old dogs and 9-year-old dogs. I learned a valuable lesson from both of them. It wasn't something they taught me, just watching them they taught me.
Yep.
And they I don't think either one of them ever realized, till Pete realized one time, hey, I don't have any dogs tree or bear. That's when he quit. Because he knew at his age time he would get another set capable of it. He'd be too old. So he just quit. I seen a man named Gene Parker up here on this mountain. Same age, I graduated high school in 1965 with him. Gene went up to hunt with Mike Hubbard in Maine, and he couldn't tree a bear, and he told Mike and us, he said, I just realized something. He said, every dog that I have is either in a nursing home or kindergarten.
Yeah.
That summed it all up. Because if you don't have anything,
yeah,
your old dogs can't catch a bear, and the young ones don't know how.
Yep.
He had nothing in between. He had year-old dogs and 8- and 9-year-old dogs. 8- and 9-year-old dogs in these mountains, they ain't going to tree you many bear. Or they might tree you, if you get lucky, they might tree an easy bear.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in between, and that's what he had.
There's not too many easy bears.
No, there's not in these mountains, they're not.
Oh, no.
I mean, although I will say I've seen some easy ones. The one we had today certainly wasn't an easy one, because he got away. But that 465-pound bear that little girl killed, he was easy. He might have been the easiest bear that I've ever seen, big bear.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact during the chase season and to the kill season, we treated that bear 7 different times, the same bear.
Like you said, he learned the game.
He learned the game. He'd come on back down, and the next time the dogs got on him, he'd just run a little ways and zip up a tree and wait for you to come and get the dog. After we done it a couple times, he said, what the heck?
Yep.
They're not bothering me. I'll just, as soon as one of them closes close enough, I'll go up a tree.
Yep.
Them dumb hunters will come and take them away, and I'll go back to wherever I was eating again, and go back to feeding. And we did. I know it's the same bear, and we treat him 7 times. It was the 7th time when she shot that bear. That bear, 2 dogs treat that bear.
Yeah, that's not much.
No.
For a bear that was definitely capable of.
Oh, he could kill him if he wanted to, but he never fought him. He never cut a dog up in his 7 trees. He never, ever cut a dog up.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they were all like that.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, he's probably the only one I'll ever see in my lifetime. But you talking about mother bear and cubs. I went one year up on Campbell's Mountain, and we rode in there, and we didn't get the track, and to come back out, and it struck red hot, a track that wasn't up there. We ran it by and treated. It didn't run very far. I turned the dogs off the truck, and they ran it and treated. We listened to the old chase when they pulled up and treated.
Mm-hmm.
We get up there, and there's about 100-pound bear in the tree. He comes down, and he goes back the way he come. And then we go back and get in the truck and go around and go up another road, and when we get up there to a man's land, which I knew him really well, and he said, I asked him, I said, I got dog treat over here, you going to go? When I got there, it was 5 bear in the tree. It was a mother bear and 4 cubs.
Wow.
Only thing I can figure is he run right in on them, and she put them up a tree and went up behind them. I treat 6 bear in about an hour and a half and don't have a clue how I done it.
Yeah.
I treat 10 bear that week. Of course, the 6 of them was them. I treat 10 bear that week before I went to Maine to hunt with Mike Hubbard.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how I done it.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating on how it happened. It had to be how it happened. That little bear just ran right back toward her.
Yep. And
she caught her by surprise before she had time enough. She put him up a big old tree there, and she's down below, and she was probably 250, 275 pound, big old mother bear.
Yeah.
And 4 the pretty. Only time in my life I've ever seen 4 cubs.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen 3 quite a few times, but never. That's the only time in my life. The one and only time.
Okay.
But
I'm sure it's not. I mean,
and
never
never
heard too many people.
Never seen them again after we treated them. I guess she took them and left.
Yeah.
She moved on to somewhere else because I never seen them again.
She didn't like all that pressure.
No, she don't like it around those cubs. But I can tell you right now, she was popping, slapping that tree. She would have done a number on some dogs.
Mm.
But thank God she stayed up there with them cubs.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was the only time I've ever walked, and all you could see is just a black mass in a tree. All you could see was bough.
Yeah.
When you were looking through the trees, it was just black because the cubs were spaced just right, and she right down below them in a fork. And I mean, it was a tree full of bough.
Yep, definitely. Almost like Christmas.
Yep. Oh, yeah. That is Christmas.
Did your dad or Pete or anybody else that growing up, did they hunt off a horseback or mules or anything like that, or just you guys all just walk?
Well, all walking, but I tell you what, I got a nephew, Pete's son, Edward, who's still a bear hunter. He and Steve Croft took horses first day of bear season one year. They rode horses.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in the group asked Ed, said, are you going to be able to, can you shoot off the back of that horse? Ed said, I can shoot off the back of any horse one time, meaning that he might get thrown off.
Yep.
But they go up there, and the dogs are running the bear.
Mm-hmm.
And they heard the dogs coming. They still on their horse. And the bear come up over a log. Both of them saw it at the same time. They already had the rifle.
Yeah.
Ed threw up and pulled the trigger. It's a true story. And Steve pulled the trigger right behind him. And Ed turned around and looked at Steve. Steve was on the horse beside him and said, what are you shooting for? The bear's dead. Steve said, how do you know it's dead? Ed said, because I shot him between the eyes. He had a bullet right between his eyes when they went down there to him. I looked at the bear. He shot him right dead between the eyes. When he come up over that log and stopped and looked at them horses, he put a bullet right dead between his eyes, killed him stone dead. Nice. But Ed said, I know he's dead because I shot him between the eyes, and he was right. I imagine he dropped about the time Steve pulled the trigger, and his bullet probably went over top of him.
Yeah.
But they did. They did shoot from them horses, both of them, that day.
It's impressive.
Yeah. I wouldn't try it. I wouldn't want to. No.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't either. But I just didn't know, because back in these mountains, back in those days, I'm sure there was a lot of horses and mules.
Oh, it was
still around, being used for.
Yeah, it used for stuff like that. And a lot of people coon hunted on mules.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen a mule jump a fence?
I've never personally, but I've seen videos and stuff.
Have you ever seen them where they lay the jacket on the barbed wire and they jump over?
Have you ever seen the movie Where the Red Fern Grows? I mean, come on, they do it right there in the movie.
Yeah, I know it. Yep, they do. So I never hunted from horseback. I've rode horses before and all, not a lot, but never hunted from horseback. I I could visualize a horse getting up in them rocks and breaking a leg or something, and you have to shoot the horse, and I don't get that. I wouldn't want to have to shoot a horse.
Yeah. No, like I said, I just wasn't sure if that was something that you were around when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Now, you showed me a picture, like we talked about at the beginning of this. How many bear are on that barn?
Well, there's 5 in the picture,
Mhm.
and I think there's 8, if I remember. There's 3 around the corner and a lot more coon hides. I think it was 8 bear and like 30-some coon hides on that barn. Now, the coon hides is deceiving because Daddy's brother, Tom Hensley, done a lot of trapping.
Okay.
He caught a lot of them by trap, but a lot of them was caught by dogs, too, because the coons wasn't like they are now. They was coons, but not like they are now.
Yeah.
But the bear was hard to come by, but that was a 56 hunting season that picture was taken in.
Yeah.
I was 10 years old in that picture.
Mhm.
It has, and there's not, to my recollection, me and my brother Clyde, Alan Overstreet, Leslie Overstreet, and Dennis Mitchell is the only 5 in that entire picture still living. And my brother
Wow.
Clyde's 78. I'm 74. Dennis is my age, 74. Alan and Leslie are a little bit younger than me. So all of them's closing on 70 or above.
Yeah.
It's still in that picture taken in 1957.
Of your siblings, I know you said your oldest brother bear hunted. Did any of your other siblings hunt?
Clyde hunted some early
Okay.
on, and the rest of them was sisters, Carrie and Christine.
Okay.
And it was 3 boys and 2 girls.
Gotcha.
But Clyde hunted some early on, and he's killed bear,
Mhm.
several bear. But he just quit it. Well, he's working for the railroad, and he wasn't able to.
Yeah.
Like me, I eventually became self-employed and got my priorities in order. I had hunting first and working
Yeah.
second. My wife didn't think very much of it, but hey, it was good for me.
Yep, definitely. I need to get on that gravy train.
Yeah.
Hunting first and then work.
Yeah, that's what I tell these people. Well, I don't know whether I'll be able to go tomorrow night. I need to check what I got to do. And I said, you don't have your priorities in order, son. You need to step up your game.
Yeah.
But it ain't many people nowadays going to go tell his wife, hey, I'm going hunting tomorrow. Instead of working, it ain't going to happen.
There's not too many people that would tell their employer that either.
Yeah, no, you're right. You better not. But I ran this business for about 30-some years, and I've been fortunate enough to bear hunt a lot.
Yeah.
North Carolina, Maine, Wisconsin, Tennessee, West Virginia, and Virginia, Canada. I've been to Canada
Nice.
a couple times up there.
Mm.
But I'll tell you something. A Joe Charles Montgomery, who was a big-time bear hunter, we went up to Sudbury, Canada. We were sitting there that evening. The sun was going down, and somebody looked at me and said, Hensley, said, which way's north from here? I said, well, the sun comes up in the east and it sets in the west, so this has got to be north. Charles said, oh, Wayne ain't as dumb as you thought he was. They thought I was going to get up in Canada and get lost is what they thought, and they'd going to have to come find me.
Yeah.
I said, Wayne ain't as dumb as you think he is. But, no, I've been in them swamps down in North Carolina, take a compass.
Yeah. You
and,
better. Because there's no landmarks.
And I've went in. I went in on a power line. Well, power poles went up the side of this road, and I went to the right of the truck to the passenger side. I took a compass when I come out of there. I was 2 power poles down from the truck. I don't figure it's bad. It's the first time I ever used it, and I really didn't know how to read one. But I didn't let that thing. I looked which way it was going in, and when I started back, I knew it had to be opposite of that, and I'd walk a little distance, and I'd pull it, and if it was to the left, I went to the left. If it was to the right, I went to the right. I come out 2 power poles below that truck on that right of way and rode down through there.
Now, when I was in Michigan, a lot of those guys still carry compass just because GPSs die, fail, whatever, and that's what they said. They're like, you get one of these big cedar swamps where there's no landmarks, you can't see. It's so thick. That's your guide.
That's your guide. It has to be so thick. But I'll tell you a story. I went with a guide up in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Brains, heck of a nice fella. Fisher Creek Outfitters. I think Dave, last time I heard, he had Alzheimer's very badly. Maybe dead now. I don't know. But anyhow, we had some dogs lost back in there. And of course, that's before they had GPS. You just had beeper system. And we go there, and there's a big rock there. Me and him and Fred Wow, Pete Wow's others. Fred and Ed were twins.
Okay.
And we went around, we walked, and we come back, and Fred said, Dave said, hey, are we walking in circles? Said, this looks awful familiar. No, said, we going the right way. And he's smoking a cigarette. He puts a cigarette out on a rock, and we make that hike again and come back, and there's a cigarette. We made that same hike twice around through that. And he said, Dave, we turned around. Said, we going in circles. There's that cigarette. Dave said, damned if it ain't. And I looked at Fred, and I said, you know you're in trouble when the guide's lost.
Yeah, no kidding.
I know whether he's going to get out of there or not, but he got us out. But I had to laugh at Dave. We had a bough tree up there. I thought it was funny as heck, and it was about 100 yards off the road, and it was a posted sign on every tree almost. If you'd leaned your hand up, if you was blind and leaned your hand up on a tree, you'd have felt a posted sign. You knew it was posted. Dave walked over and leaned over and looked at that sign and said, where it said no hunting, he said, hunters welcome, y'all come on. We went on into the dogs. We didn't kill a bear, but we got those dogs, which you wasn't supposed to do it. But yeah, he said, hunters welcome. I looked at Fred and I said, well, hell, he'll be in jail with us, I reckon. Let's go. And maybe his wife will come over and get us out.
Yeah.
But I've hunted a lot of states like that, and I probably enjoyed West Virginia and North Carolina more than any of them. North Carolina's rough, thick, but I just like to hunt down there.
Yeah.
Especially as I get older, because it's flat as my living room floor, and I can still get around good on flat land. Not so much these mountains.
For everybody listening, he's a liar. He still gets around these mountains better than most. So
Better than most my age. Maybe say it that way.
better than most in general.
No, better than most my age, because, like I say, I see so many people my age that I refer back to what I've always said. If I showed you where most of my friends reside, I need to take you to the cemetery.
Yeah.
Because most of them's gone. Half of them probably gone. And half of the ones that's left can't hardly shift their feet to move.
Yep.
And I don't mean knock them, but they never done nothing. They retired and sat down in a chair, get fat and lazy, and can't do anything. And I refuse to do that.
An old guy that I work with, one time I asked him, he's in his mid-80s. He still works part-time. And I asked him, I said, Kenny, why don't you retire? He goes, why? Because I can sit at home and die? He goes, everyone that I know that's retired sits at home for a year, 2, 3, and dies. He goes, I ain't going to do that. He's like, keep on working. And he still drove. He kept a CDL up until he was like 83. I want to say he's like 86 now.
Yeah. But that's why. My dad, like I said, was 93. He had cattle he fooled with until he was 88 years old. He had cattle up there on that farm. And my sisters said one day, one of them cattle's going to kill him. I said, so what? I said, at least we find him dead in the barn lot. We'll know how he died. I said, you take those cows away from him and Daddy will die quickly. That's all he knows.
Yeah.
He's fooled with cows all of his life. Leave him the hell alone and let him live his life. And they finally just give up on it. And he finally gave the cows up when he's about 88.
Yeah.
And then lived.
But there's a difference when you let something go yourself.
Yourself, yeah. It's sort of like hunting. I'll make that decision, or God will make it for me. He'll take me one or the other.
Yep.
Won't nobody make it for me. My wife, if we live to be August the 4th of next year, be married 50 years. She won't make that decision for me. Wayne will make that decision, or God will make it for me.
Judy knows better.
Yeah, she knows better. Well, she never hunted, but she tolerates me hunting.
Yep.
Which is about, I tell people, one of my favorite sayings there, half the population don't even like a hunter. The other half just tolerates us. And you tick one of them off and make them mad, you'll have lost another one that's over on the other side that hates you as a hunter, or hates every hunter.
Yep.
And there's plenty of those out there. When you heard what the man said today about that man in the house when he come out in the road where you and I was sitting, cussing or thinking, telling him better not go on his land and better not hunt on his land. Well, nobody hunting on his land. We're trying to get the dogs.
Yeah, unfortunately, they went the wrong way. If they would have went back into the national forest, instead out towards that private ground,
He would have been a dead bear.
Yep.
But he didn't.
Got away.
Got away I would imagine, into the game reserve up there. I would
Yeah.
imagine where he went. But, and it's amazing about that game reserve at Peaks of Otter, Sharp Top they call it, and Flat Top Mountain here along the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's been a game reserve all my life, and I hope it remains because it keeps us a lot of bear here.
Yeah.
But those bear, I swear I believe the mothers teach them when they're young where the boundary's at, because I can't count on my fingers and toes a bear that I've seen or we've treed 100 yards inside that boundary line.
Yep.
They cross Stony Creek, cross the road, cross the creek, and then the boundary starts.
Yep.
And they just go up a tree and just stay there until you get the dog, because it's like, hey, no, heck, I'm safe now. They can't shoot me.
Yep. Now, I was talking to somebody that hunts in North Carolina, same kind of thing. There's a bear preserve. They can't hunt. He said, they know.
They know.
They know you can't hunt there. And and that is when you get on one, that is where they're going.
They go straight to it. A lot of people call it the big house up here. Is what they call it. He's going to, when you hear somebody on the radio say he's headed to the big house, you better be there to get your dogs if you can get them. Because Tim and I was running one last year during the chases. His Queenie dog and a Rebel dog gets out of my kennel. At bear, he went down on the other side of the mountain. We got part of the dogs off it. It had gotten behind because it was hot on the Blue Ridge Parkway. He goes down. I seen him down Jennings Creek, and them dogs was flying on that bear. It wasn't a very big bear. We'd seen the bear. And Tim said, Wayne, and I was waiting for some more dogs to come, and he hadn't been gone. He said they took the right-hand turn and pulling straight back to the parkway. I said, son, you better get your butt back up here floorboarded and get around there, because he's headed into Flat Top, and he got around there just before them dogs come into the road on the parkway.
Yeah.
The bad done already crossed, and they was going on back into Flat Top. And, when you see them headed there, they know they're safe, and that's where they're going.
Yep.
But I've treated them in there. I've bait them under rocks in there. I pull dogs out of holes in there that crawl in there in a hole and pull them by the tail out. And you better be very careful when you grab him by the tail, because if he thinks that bear's got him, he'll eat you up, because your face is right there to his butt. He'll eat you up. Think that bear's got him.
Yep.
But probably the worst one I've ever seen in a hole was in West Virginia. And the dogs, I had 2 or 3 dogs on it, and the people in West Virginia had dogs on it. And it come down, and it went in a big culvert. It was a water culvert there, next to one of them coal mines. But you couldn't stand up in it, but a bear could stand up in it.
Yeah.
You had to crawl in it, but you still had plenty of room above you when you crawled. But you couldn't stand. You could stand up on your knees in there.
Like a 4 foot probably.
Yeah, at least. But the problem was the bear went in the upper end where the water went in. There wasn't no water there then, because it was dry. But the other end was about 30-foot drop to the ground, and the bear went down there and realized, and he turned around and started fighting dogs. And I had a dog in that hole in that cover, and a man from West Virginia went in there and got him out. I don't know that I was stupid enough to go in there.
Yeah.
He was either brave or stupid or a combination of both, but he got him out safely.
Yeah.
But that bear just stood back at the end of that hole. You go down on the lower side, you couldn't even see the bear, but you could hear that echo.
Yeah.
And of them in there, and so he got them all out. That bear stayed there, didn't break, try to come out of nothing. He knew he couldn't go out the lower side without falling the distance, and he just stayed there at the end of that pipe until he backed out with that last dog.
Jeez.
And when we pulled the dogs away, he's still in that pipe.
That's crazy.
Like
you said,
that's the worst one I've ever seen. But I didn't
brave
go
or
in there.
stupid, I don't know. But
yeah, a combination of both.
Mm.
I would say more stupid than brave. When you're stupid, you're probably really brave. I would think.
Well, John Wayne said, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough.
You got to be tough. That's exactly right. And I've done some crazy things around bear, but several years ago, we was running during the chase season. The dogs treat a bear after dark. And I had a Rebel dog, and it was a small bear, and I tied him back. There was a log there, and I tied him back to an ivy bush behind the log. And I wanted to get a better look at the bear, and I cut the light on and walked between Rebel and the bear. And about the time I went to cut my headlamp on to look up at the bear, they hollered, "Look out, Hensley, he's coming out." And that bear come down right beside me, and he come all the way to the ground.
Mhm.
All the dogs was tired. Well, I wasn't
Yeah.
worried about. I wasn't thinking about nothing. But Rebel lunged at that bear. He come over that log and lunged, and he grabbed me in the back of the leg right here,
Oh,
above my knee. Sunk 4 holes, 2 top and 2 bottom across that muscle. I'll tell you what, if he hadn't have caught it, he jerked me back over the log all the way back to him. When he realized it wasn't a bear, he turned me loose.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that he didn't go on and try to tire me up. And he could have killed me right there. I didn't even see it coming. My headlamp flew off and everything. He jerked me back over that log, and he let go. And I got up and I started dropping my britches, and I had 4 holes on each side of that muscle, but he caught just enough of that bone, and he let go quick enough. But I figured the muscle was pulled away from that bone, but it wasn't. I tell you what, you talking about sore for 2 or 3 weeks. I couldn't hardly walk. But somebody asked me later, said, "Wayne, what would you done if we'd have had a woman with you?" I said, "I'd have pulled my britches down just like I did while y'all was out. I wouldn't have cared who was standing there." Because I had to find out how bad my leg was torn, because it was just painful. But
there's a little difference in modesty when there's a medical issue.
When it's a medical issue, the heck with the modest part about it. Yep. Male, female, it don't make any difference. I would have pulled my pants down right in front of her.
It
wouldn't have made any difference. But yeah, I've had some close call with bear. The funniest one I ever seen, we went in down to North Carolina on a bear, and them bears make them tunnels. They look like igloos through that thick stuff, and a lot of times they'll go up there, and it's the only way to get into them is crawl through there with your gun in your hand. And
that just sounds like madness. Like crawl through a tunnel that bear goes
the bears stuck back there somewhere or another. Ed Ware and Calvin Angus, and crawled in there. And I crawled in, but I was behind them. Calvin's in front. Ed was here, and I'm behind. And the bear, when he saw us, the only way in, the only way out's that path.
Yeah.
He charged right through the dogs and charged right at us. Mm-hmm. Calvin threw the gun up, bam! That bear flopped down, and he turned around. I got him. He had said, "You better shoot again." He's getting up. He was fixing to get up to charge us again. Ed was looking at him. I couldn't see him because, through the tunnel. Yeah. He shot him again and killed him then. But the dogs had about got to him then, was all over top of him. But, yeah, he didn't totally kill him, and he was so happy to kill that big bear. He didn't even realize he still had life in him.
Jeez.
But I'll tell you the story about the one I shot. Richard Martin, who's dead and gone now, he died about 3 years ago. He's 81 years old. Thought a lot of Richard. Lived in North Carolina. Wrote a lot of articles for Full Cry magazine.
Okay.
About the Big Bear Club and stuff. If anybody's got any old books of Full Cry, he wrote for years, and I hunted with him a lot. And we went down there one day, and nobody but me and Richard. He was in his 70s. I'm in my 60s. That's a real crew right there.
Yeah.
So the fellas, we hadn't found no track, and the fellas in the deer club said, "Come holler Rich on the radio." Said, "Rich," it said, "just run about a block over here if y'all want to run him." And Rich said, "Where at?" He said, "We put a Mountain Dew can on a stick there right outside the road on the tree limb." So that's where he crossed. Said, "If you're going down that road," said, "he's crossing from your right to your left." And he was. The track of dogs blew up. I turned to loose 6 dogs, and he turned to loose 3. Mm-hmm. They went across that block, got to another road, got across there before we could get there. So we hustled back, and I said, "Richard, I'm going to stay here while you go around there." Well, he gets up on the upper end. See, you had beeper systems then, didn't have no GPS. Okay. And the tree switches started going off. And I said, "Richard, the bear's treed." "Wayne, the bear's not treed, he's on the ground baying." I said, "Richard, the bear's treed. I know my system, and the bear's up in the air." He said, "Well, there ain't no trees in there big enough for him to go up. It's planted pines." I said, "I don't care if the bear's off the ground. I'm certain he is." He said, "Well, come on around here. I'm a lot closer to him than you are." So I did, and I go around, and he was right. So I said, well, I'm going to go in there, and if his ears up a tree, and I looked over my left, and it was big timber, but the bough never made it to it.
Yeah.
If he'd have made a little bit, another 100, 150 yards, it'd have been in big timber where it wasn't planted pine. So I go in there, we got 9 dogs there. And that old bandit dog of mine, it was almost 15 years old, that died about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was one of them. And I get there, and I'm getting closer and closer and closer, and I thought, my God, Richard's right. This bear's on the ground. And there's 9 dogs around him, and he's sticking here. I don't know what I'm going to encounter here. So I kept walking, and I got there, and it was about a 4 or 6 inch planted pine at the bottom, and he was up it. They must have put some heat on him. But bear weighed 250 right on the nose. He was up there, and he'd gone up so far, it was bending over. And I looked up and said, we weren't going to shoot the bear.
Yeah.
We're going to let him go unless somebody in the club wanted to kill him, but he wasn't going to stay there long up that little old bush. And the dogs could almost jump and grab him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, let me see if I can get him. So I caught 2 dogs. When I went and tied them back, looked at him. He said, they're fine, just calm. I had that .375 rifle of mine, and I shoot left-handed. And I reached and I caught Bandit. And when I bent over to catch Bandit with my right hand, a tree limb hit me in the top of my back. And I thought, uh-oh, what's going on here? And when I stood back up, his butt was at the top of my head. He was backing down.
Yeah.
But I was standing at the tree. I said, Wayne, you too old to be in this situation. I got to do something here. I never did even turn Bandit loose. I pulled the hammer back on that .375, and I stuck it. He was hugged around that tree. I stuck a gun right up under his left leg, right against the tree, and when I pulled the trigger, I shot him right through when I put the bullet through his throat,
Yeah.
it grazed the inside of his left leg, went through the throat, up into his brain.
Mm-hmm.
When I pulled the trigger, I took one step back, and the bear fell right where I was standing.
Jeez.
And the dogs piled on him, and I finally got all of them off, and I called Richard. I stepped back where I could hear on the road. I said, Richard, the bear was treed. The bear's dead, and he was treed. Richard said, he was. I said, what was he up? I said, one of these planted pines. He said, really? I said, yep, it always goes back to what Jerome Barr has been saying for years. If you put enough heat on his butt, he'll climb an axe handle. Jerome used to, that's one of his favorite sayings.
Yeah.
You put enough heat on him, on his, you know what, he'll climb an axe handle. And I laughed, and Richard mumbled something on the radio. But we stand there with 9 dogs, 250-pound bear. So I took a collar off, laid it on the bear. I brought 2 or 3 dogs. I think I brought 3 dogs out. Left them other 5 in there.
Yeah.
Tied back. I said, Richard, what are we going to do? I had to kill the bear. I didn't have a choice. I was going to get killed myself, or he'd kill some of the dogs. We'd never get them off. He said, don't you worry, Wayne. And he had a little old black book in his truck where he kept names. He called Ralph Sheffield and his son, Ralph and Reed. They still bear hunt down there, kill a lot of bear. I've been following them on Facebook and all this hunting season. I had never met them at that point. He called them and said, we need some help. And Ralph said, we got a dog over here that's trailing, but it ain't going to do nothing. Said, as soon as we gather up his dog, said, where you at, Rich? Said, we come help you. He come over there, and he had this big old boy with him. He introduced Ralph and Reed, shook hands with him. He had this big boy with him, and I said, you look like a football player. He was 6'5" and weighed, I think, 265 pounds. He was a man.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, I did play football. Said, I graduated this year. He said, I played on the state championship football team. I said, I believe that.
Yeah.
We went in there, took machetes, went back in there, and we walked, found the bear, took a little bit to find the bear because the dogs, they done got quiet and laid down. They was tired.
Yeah.
We took the dogs out, come back, and me and Reed took a machete and cut a trail.
Mm-hmm.
That boy that was a football player drug that bear all the way to the canal across from the truck like it was a groundhog.
Jeez.
By himself. He was moving that bear as fast as we could cut the limbs off and the brows back to make him a bear. And Richard and Ralph walked with the coats and our guns coming out of there.
Alrighty. Now we can finish this up after multiple phone calls, eating dinner, a technical difficulty that sent me to Walmart. No, only a couple hours after we tried to start this thing. So, after all these years of bear hunting, anything you want to share with people?
Like what? You tell me.
I don't know. Any life lessons, things you've learned?
Yeah, I think you and I were discussing about training dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I found out something my daddy always taught me. A dog does best in his own environment. If you're trying to start a dog on a cage coon or something, you start it in his own kennel. You set it outside, let him bay at it. Set it inside. If you don't bay at it, put another dog in there with him. But you do that before you take the coon out there. Get them adjusted to each other. Let that one dog start baying, and I guarantee if it's any bay in him, he'll be baying it in a few minutes in his own kennel. A lot of people jerk them out, take them out in the woods somewhere or another with the coon, and all they want to do is new surroundings, and all they want to do is play.
Mm-hmm.
But you leave them in that lot. Once they get adjusted, put a dog in there, you know it's going to bay the coon. You leave them out too. Go back and then take the coon to them.
Yeah.
I found that's the best way. I've always thought that, and it works. And I'll tell you something else, a possum is better than a coon to train a puppy with.
Mm-hmm.
You can put on a pair of gloves, catch him by a tail, let him walk right up beside the kennel, and if you got put a piece of panel up on top of your kennel, let him walk right across it.
Yeah.
Put a string on his tail or somewhere, you know it ain't coming off, and you just pull him back, and he'll start baying at it and treeing. He'll start looking up treeing at it.
Well, heck, I just passed one on the road. Let's go get it.
We can do it. I can catch him. At my age, I can catch him.
So, well, in the beginning of this, I jokingly said I call you Uncle Wayne. It was funny. Now, it's been about a year and a half ago, because you said that's how Pasha's 17 months old, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
a couple months more than that, because I brought her mother down to breed her to your ninja dog, and it was right in the beginning of all that COVID mess. And it was funny. I was talking to another guy as I was driving down here. He's like, "Aren't there restrictions over there?" He's out in Michigan. Michigan was locked down tight. He's like, "Aren't there restrictions over there?" I said, "Yeah, there are." I said, "But you're allowed to go visit family, and I'm going to visit my Uncle Wayne." I said, "How are they going to say anything else?" I just laughed. I'm like, "Going to visit my Uncle Wayne."
Uncle Wayne.
It's family.
I don't know. BJ started calling me that, and everybody calls me that now, Uncle Wayne. But, well, you heard what Cody said today about the bow, about getting his attention and all.
Yeah.
People pick up stuff. It's amazing, and I'm going to tell you this story. People don't realize, and I didn't, how much people pay attention. People that you don't think pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gentleman down the road here, Roger Clark, comes by every Christmas to I do those plates for his plaques for the Masonic and Rebecca Lodge over here.
Mm-hmm.
And he come down the other year, and he's sitting talking, and he said, "Wayne, Josh Overstreet used to live across the road over here." I said, "Where is he at now?" I said, he's in the National Guard. He's over in Qatar or Qatar, whatever you want to call it. He said, "I didn't know that, but I said, he's due to come back any time." And he said, "Did you know that boy called you Daddy?" I said, "Yeah, I knew he did. I've heard him. Many people told me that he called me Daddy. Mm-hmm. He actually called me Daddy, and he has a daddy. Because he started hunting with me when he was 15. Killed 2 bear. I treed both of them for him. The first one he ever killed, weighed 420 pounds. Was up a tree, a nice bear. And I told him, I said, he talked on me, and he said, "Wayne said, that boy thought the world of you, thinks the world of you." And I said, "Well, I'm glad to know that." Because I tried to lead him in the right direction, and I said, "Youth is what it's all about."
Oh, yeah. And
he said, "You do any coon hunting?" I said, "Very little." He said, "You ever want to go? My place is open to you anytime you want to go. You come on." He said, "Just come on and hunt." And one like Roger Clark, who doesn't hunt himself, you don't pay attention. You don't think somebody like that is watching.
Yep.
And taking it all in, but he did, apparently. And he commented on what he said about me and all. And then when I was inducted into the Virginia Barrenners Hall of Fame, he's the one who sent it in.
Okay.
He sent it in the write-up.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know it till I got my newsletter that he had nominated me for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, he helped me a lot. I laughed when Richard Sprinkles, if I was the president then, when they nominated me over there at that meeting,
Mhm.
and he said, we have a nomination here for Wayne Hensey, but I think he might have been the one that sent it in. I said, God, Richard, don't tell people. Most people don't know that. I went along with the joke, but
Yeah.
he nominated me for it and talked about he started hunting with me and the leopard curs and all that I hunted.
Yeah.
And he actually said, I nominate Wayne Henson. Well, he said, I nominate Wayne Henson for Virginia Bounders Hall of Fame, and talked about my amazing leopard curs. But I'm going to tell you something about the amazing part of dogs is I had a fella one time that he started bragging on my dog, but he hadn't been bear hunting long.
Mhm.
I said, it ain't hard to impress somebody that don't know nothing about dogs.
Yeah.
I said, that a little bit harder when you
Yep.
know, when you start having an actual dog hunter that knows what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
I said, but it's not hard. And I also told that same fellow one day he had a dog. He never had any dogs run a bear, and he finally got one.
Mhm.
I directed him. A man had a red bone dog. Says, good dog.
Mhm.
He buys a dog. And we up to Maine. We had just a beeper system then. He's out there trying to find where his dog's at. He walked over and he said, Wayne, he said, will you take this thing, tell me where my dog's at? He said, I don't know much about it. I said, yeah, most people who never had a dog get out of the road don't need to figure out how to use one of these things. But I kid with people. Anybody knows me, I'll say anything to anybody.
Oh, well, I've learned.
But
So-
never met a stranger. Never
No.
met. But I've taken, I think I counted back here not too long ago. In the last 15 years, I've taken 31 people that killed the first bear.
Wow.
The youngest one was 9 years old, which was Graydon Henson, BJ's son. That bear weighed 3-something that we treed up there where we went today.
Mhm.
And the oldest one was 60 years old,
Wow.
Donnie Cox. And I took Donnie.
60 years old, never killed a bear before.
Never killed a bear, but he hunted with some people, just never got a chance to kill a bear.
Mhm.
And Donnie, I took him to West Virginia. He come up and spent the night in the motel with me, and went Monday morning, first day of season. We treed the bear. He killed the bear. We brought it back up there to the camp where the rest of them were staying. Gutted the bear, skinned it out, quartered it up, put it in the cooler, and by 12 o'clock, he's on his way back to Virginia. On it one day. He told me later, he said, Wayne, I'm 60 years old, never killed a bear. I said, you've been hunting with the wrong man.
Yeah.
That's what come to my mind to tell him, but it was lucky the way it happened. And
Mhm.
a lot of hunting is luck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with dogs or without dogs, it's luck. Being in the right place at the right time.
Like you said, I mean, where we hunted today, you end up in that game preserve a lot just because how close you are. And
Yeah.
so you get lucky when you.
You get lucky. If I'll be honest with you, if that bear wasn't standing where it was at today, it'd be a dead bear right now.
Mhm.
But right at that man's house,
Yep.
can't do that.
Yep.
And Cody done the right thing.
Definitely.
Let a nice, possibly 250-pound bear get away.
Yep.
Nice bear. But that's hunting. It's called hunting. I'll
Not
remind
killing.
people it's not killing. That's
Yep.
why it's called hunting. You hunt. You don't kill. Not near as much as you hunt.
Oh, yeah.
So I enjoy it.
This is the 4th year I've bear hunted, and I've seen only a couple of bear. Ever.
Right. You've hunted with me 2 or 3 times is all. And then tomorrow we may change that tomorrow
Hopefully we do.
because they got some bears down there on the game cameras, and
Mhm.
we just might be able to get one tomorrow.
Hopefully. I
But
mean,
we'll see.
we knew where they were bear today.
Oh yeah, we knew those bears that day, and I told you the last 2 times I rode them dogs up that road, I treed a bear.
Yep.
Didn't tree this one, but come close to it.
Yep. Got on him.
Got on him quickly, really. Heck, where did I go? A couple hundred yards before they took off out? Well, they
Yep.
went to the left, come back behind us, and went over to the right, and
Yep.
struck a track and left. I knew it was about that. When you see them dogs start smelling, I watched that ninja dog, and when he put his head in, I told you, I said, they gone out there
Yep.
right good distance. And then all of a sudden, I said, no, they didn't come back behind us, gone to that side. And that's when we heard them running.
Yep.
But you trust your dogs. Always trust your dogs. Even if a dog is wrong, you got to put trust in them. If you got to go out there and jump a bear, you don't need a dog.
Yep.
Just shoot the bear and be done with it. You have to trust your dogs.
Mm.
I don't care what age they are, you trust them. Well, you saw the dog out of your Jeep. That dog was young, but I turned her loose with them.
Yeah.
She went right out of there with them and stayed with them. She finally did get kicked out, but she went a long ways before she got kicked out.
She was a mile.
Huh? There was about 1.5 miles when she got kicked out.
Yeah.
And that's in some rough terrain.
Yep.
But she's figuring it out very quickly, and she'll be there by spring of the year.
Mhm.
Hopefully get about 2 killed to her tomorrow, or by tomorrow, and several before the season goes out.
Yep.
Maybe in North Carolina when I go down there 2 weeks. Well, actually, it's 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
We go down there hunting.
So, well, we're going to hop off of here.
So, a few weeks ago before Christmas, I went on Facebook Live and read some trivia questions off and announced a contest. And I have yet to have anybody actually answer those questions. So, contest is still going on. And I'm actually going to change the rules a little bit, make it a little bit easier, because I guess maybe it was too hard. Maybe it's just because the holidays, I don't really know. But I hope to hear from some of you guys. I have 5 trivia questions. The first 5 people to answer each question individually. So if somebody has already answered question 1, that question gets deleted. So the first person to answer each question individually will win a code for an audiobook for Joseph Krantz's The Last Coon Hunter. I listened to it. I really enjoyed it. The first person to answer all 5 questions will get a Tree Talkin' Time t-shirt, a Full Cry hat, and a sticker pack from Tree Talkin' Time W and Conkeys. So question 1, whose secret family recipe is it? Question 2, what year did Chuck Gaietto purchase Jukebox? Question 3, what is the month and the year that the legends were featured on the cover of Full Cry? Question 4, where was Mark Booth when he had the idea for Southern Hound Hunting Magazine? And question 5, what is the name of the oldest guest, he was 90 years old, to come on the podcast? Like I said, the first person to answer each individual question correctly will get a code for Joseph Krantz's book, and the person that answers all 5 of them will get a code for the book, as well as a prize package of a t-shirt, a hat, and stickers. So you can message me on Facebook, on Instagram, either one, because it timestamps it, so I'll know. On Facebook, I will say, if I get, question 2 answered, I will make a post and say, question 2 has been answered. So I look forward to hearing you guys this week. I look forward to a lot of podcasts this year and a lot of good content. And just thank everybody for following along and continued support. And I hope 2024 is a great year for you guys as well as this podcast. So thank you.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talkin' Media. And until next time, keep 'em talking in the timber.